Hello and welcome back to Ask Indigo Brown, embracing your black and blue moments on the Small Business Network podcast TV. I'm your host, Indigo Brown, and today we have a special guest, Christiana George.
Hi.
Christiana George is not only a gifted poet and a storyteller, but she is also a fierce advocate for the mental health, and her writing draws you into a world of raw emotion, culture, roots, and supernatural and spiritual awakening, all with shining a light on the realities of trauma and healing. Today, we'll be exploring her journey, her inspiration, and the power of poetry to transform pain into purpose. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Just hanging in there. This is Saturday. It's feeling good.
Definitely, definitely. So, can you kind of express before we get into the conversation about your book, what inspired that book?
What inspired that book? My grandma inspired that book. She was a bruja in our family, the last of our generation.
Okay.
And I was always kind of surrounded by, and by her, her practices. And I was always inspired by her spirituality, and I really wanted to write this book to honor her, her stories, her trauma, and also like her fascination with the supernatural and like brujeria, and I wanted to honor her that way, so I wrote this book for her.
It's interesting that you say brujeria because sometimes when people hear that, they get they get scared. Can you kind of express or explain, for those that, don't really understand what that is or kind of they takes their brain somewhere else in the wrong direction, like break it down to what that is.
Well, I would say it's like any other spiritual practice, and it does have a lot of ties to Catholicism. So there's, interesting enough, there is actually lots of spirituality involved with it, lots of involvement with with God
Right.
and angels. Ironically, a lot of people don't know that, but they do work with angels too. I would say that my grandma was more of a white witch, so she worked with angels most and saints,
Right.
but every once in a while she would work with obviously a lot of people know the Lady Muerte, and a lot of people are scared of her, but I don't know, like that's what that is. It's just a spiritual practice, and like if you think about it in our culture, like especially the Hispanic culture, Latino culture, like we do a lot of weird things that kind of tie to that, that we don't really realize that we actually practice a lot of our own witchcraft every
Right.
day, with like the broom being behind the door upside down. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
That's actually a brujeria practice.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we do that are actually like witchcraft, and I think it's interesting.
Yeah, the stigma behind it all. I've definitely had to deal with a lot of the stigma, but I get where you're coming from when it comes to that. I do have my understandings of it. I come from a family of, many people who are gifted and have some form of abilities. I definitely have some form of abilities. Near death experience, that kind of does it for you. So I can
Yeah,
understand. I relate. I get it.
yeah.
So, your poetry combines psychology, culture, and supernatural. What first inspired to write this way?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the horror and macabre since I was a little girl, specifically folklore, ghost stories, urban legends, stories passed down by generations.
Right.
I was inspired by my own family ghost stories from Mexico,
Okay.
and I wanted to tie mental health because I feel like ghost stories and generational trauma go hand in hand. I've with similar themes of being haunted or inherited darkness. And I was also heavily influenced by other works like Edgar Allan Poe, Shirley Jackson, Stephen King. They wrote horror and supernatural in a beautiful and haunting way.
Yeah.
Their themes of mental illness, addiction, and the dark side of human nature was just fascinating at that time. And I really wanted to modernize that. I wanted to make my own version of that.
That's cool. I like that. I like that, especially in poetry. I have actually taken the chance to, take a look at this. I've definitely looked at it. I've definitely read some pages. And I could definitely say that I do relate with, some stuff that you say inside of here. I actually bookmarked an area that kind of like it got to me a bit. Let me see, which one is it? Paper cuts.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So,
glad that, but I'm it's usually familiar I always hear, but paper cuts, yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, that was that one, when I got to that one and I read it, I was like, "Ooh, that hit different." That I felt that and I felt that in the core, We all go through things but yeah, that paper cuts, it definitely did it for me. I had to save it as like I got to go back to that one. So, it's inspiring to understand that you're not the only person that goes through things. And everyone goes through their trials and tribulations. Everyone goes through their own baggage of pain and suffering and trauma. And people, handle it however they handle it. But when you can handle it in a healthy way, when you can write it out, when you talk it out, like I strongly encourage these type of things when it comes to my teaching classes. So to see that you're able to transition your pain and your trauma into words that can emphasize how you feel in such a beautiful way, that's encouraging. That shows other people that there is alternative ways to kind of work through the pain, work through the suffering, work through the trauma and whatever is holding you hostage. Hostage. Release it. Let it go. It's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
Much of your work is rooted in personal experiences. How did writing become a tool for healing after trauma?
So I've always been a writer since I was a little girl, and I've always kind of written my own things, like short stories, mostly fairy tales. I was little, and I was experimenting, trying to find my voice. But it really, really, my writing became a tool for healing and trauma, specifically during a time when I was doing EMDR. And for anyone who's never heard of EMDR, it's a psychotherapy technique that helps process and heal from traumatic memories and other distressing experiences.
Right.
And it was involved with hypnosis.
Wow.
So I after going through all of that process, I was experiencing like residual like hallucinations from that. I would say like I was having dreamlike states, kind of having PTSD episodes.
Yeah.
So my therapist said that I should write these down. And while I was writing, experiencing these tense dreamlike states, I wrote down my own personal experiences and trauma, and it kind of came together as this creative catharsis for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's dope that you mentioned like having some kind of hypnotherapy. I feel like that won't work with for me because my brain doesn't shut up long enough for me to
I
actually
mean,
get hypnotized.
I at first I was the same way because I have ADHD, and I'm like, how can you get my brain to focus on one thing? But it works, and it was very intense. Like I would say that I probably wasn't ready for it, but I went through it anyways because I really wanted to, move on from the experiences that I've been through. But I'm glad I did because it's given me all this material and it's given me a stronger voice because of
Right.
it.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. I'm at some point I have to try hypnotherapy. I'm just afraid on what it might reveal or unlock. We tend to take trauma and put in a little file in the storage cabinet way back in the brain. And we forget, I didn't go through a trauma, but we got gaps in our memories. So there was trauma and we try to ignore it. But I feel like hypnotherapy will definitely do something that's gonna trigger something that I don't think I'm gonna be ready for. So for you to go through it, honey, I praise you.
I think I was determined at that time after my grandma died. I was thinking a lot about legacy and about our generational trauma and everything. And I really believed, and I don't know if this is true, but I really believed in my soul. I was like, you know what? It's going to end with me.
Yeah.
So I decided to do all the
Ooh.
hard work.
Mm. Generational curse breaker.
Yeah.
This is the generation for it. This
It is.
is the time. Our generation is supposed to be the generation that breaks generational curses.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's something happens to us that tells us something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to be done different. And a lot of the time, it's what pushes us to want to step away from family, want to step away from friends, want to get away from old habits and old traditions and old ways of living and seeing and doing things in life. So for you to know, to like in your core to know that you're the generational breaker, you're the one that has to create the change and provide the change in your family will say so much for the future to come, because that means you're about to make a whole 360 with how your family's life has been living. So when you have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren, life's just going to be different because you change the out the old, new within. So that's amazing. I love those words. I like the fact that you even can understand that it ends with you. Your motivation is truly a beautiful thing. You mentioned that Mexico folklore is your storytelling. How does this culture influence and shape your poetry?
I mean, I was shaped by my own culture because my family made a point to retain their heritage through generations. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So it was only natural it shows up in my poetry. I think a lot of the Mexican folklore heavily influenced me to write about certain imageries and metaphors I pulled from my own family retelling of their trauma.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of American Mexican authors out there. I mean, there is, but I don't think there is enough. I
Right.
think there needs to be more. So I really wanted to kind of like have a unique voice, but I also wanted to include my own culture because I don't want to throw it away. I don't like everyone else does, when they become and this big American author, they start to kind of,
Yeah.
separate from that identity. I didn't want to. I wanted to bring that with me.
Okay. So keep it authentic as much as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Many of your poems touch on mental health struggles. How do you balance vulnerability with empowering your work?
I balance my work by reclaiming my power from being vulnerable, but knowing that this vulnerability doesn't make me weak. It actually gives me insight and creative energy. I think vulnerability is a power, and used well can empower you to write something real and raw. I think writing is a great way to conquer your own personal demons, reclaiming your power.
Yeah.
And and I think that's how I balance it is by stepping into my vulnerability and using it as a tool to empower me instead of letting it tear me down.
That was raw. That was
Yeah.
very raw.
Yeah.
That was very raw. Many people struggle to kind of express myself. I know I'm definitely one of those people.
Mhm.
So I like to use music to kind of express what I'm feeling, because me trying to do it on my own, it's always a hassle. And authenticity is such an issue with me because it's like, I don't have a problem talking with people and I don't have a problem expressing myself, but when it comes to like me really talking about my trauma and really talking about self, or things that I've experienced and went through, I shut down. It's like I'm trying to I'm trying to respect the people that are still around and respect the boundaries and situations in hand, but at the same time, like, it's my story, it's my truth, and I
I
need to be willing to wanna say.
and I completely understand. I had because I had decided to write something so personal. The first thought was my family because I wanted to protect them. I wanted to I didn't want them to feel like it was a slap in their face. But
Right,
at the same time, there were things that were said and done,
right,
and I needed to. And I never had a voice when I was little. I didn't have the voice that I had, and nobody really listened to me. They didn't believe me.
right.
So that I harbored that for years, and then one day I said, you know what, I'm just going to tell my truth.
Yeah,
And if I lose all support from my family, I mean, I lose all support. But if they understand me and know me and love me for who I am, they should have seen this coming, and they should have like they either have to just accept that, or let me out of their life. And luckily, I haven't lost any of my family members. I mean, at first, not going to say, very awkward Thanksgiving and Christmas break. Very awkward. But we're at a place now with my family. We're at a place now where they've accepted it, and where they understand the material that I wrote, and they feel for me, and and they've been very supportive of it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been really nice, but I understand it's like the reason why it took so long to even publish a book was like all the things I want to write about. I didn't want to offend my family, but I
Right.
kind of was like made a choice, like I'm going to be a generational breaker, so of course I'm going to do something that is going to shake the ground, and why not shake the ground a little
That's
bit.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta point out the trauma. Sometimes, like, the ones that provide the trauma or were the cause of the trauma, they struggle to realize that you're we gotta tell our truth, and we
Hmm.
gotta be allowed to express who we are and how we feel as individual people. Like, to stay silent forever and not really express what you're feeling basically tells your emotions that they're invalid. It tells your mind that what you're feeling is not real. And that's unfair because I what I feel is real. How
Hmm.
I feel is real. And what I think is valid. But to have to express that in a way where you're sugarcoating and you're kind of, gapping or skipping over certain things to worry about someone else's feelings. At the end of the day, we are not responsible for someone else's feelings. And
Hmm.
if you feel some type of way about something that was done or said, that's kind of a you problem,
Yeah.
because you're not gonna silence me anymore.
Yeah, and that's the conclusion I came to when I wrote this book, was like, should I publish it, should I publish it? I'm like, publish it, because like, you're taking power back from something that was taken away from you when you were young, like, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's right. Girl power. Girl
Yep.
power. What was the hardest piece you've ever written and why?
I would say Apartment 308, because it
Oh.
really sets up the overall heart of the story, and it was my hardest thing to write about because it was one of my very first poems. The first time I ever had to be vulnerable. Exposing my family myself was the hardest part.
Mm.
Yeah, that one was really hard. I actually cried. I had to do several therapy sessions after that.
It's the raw. You release yourself from bondage, mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual bondage. When you release the things that kept you hostage for so long. You forget to live, you forget to be, you forget to experience life because we have been told that we're not allowed to be who we want to be. The world's already had an opinion of who we were going to be. It's like we struggle to find ourselves within the noise. I call it static. So, we struggle to find ourselves and we struggle to live our true authentic self because of all the static. But when we can finally allow ourselves to like break free from that, and unfortunately it's like a no f's given, it's like when you finally just give up on caring about other people's feelings and other people's emotion and how they're going to see it. It's not for you to care about that. It's just it's about you expressing yourself in the best way that you can so that you can relate to other people. There's so many people that go through trauma and never talk about it. And then they self-destruct and they start to do things that are detrimental to their well-being. Sometimes so detrimental that you can't come back from that, you know? And for you to make it easy for people to hear your pain, hear your stories, listen to what you have to say and say, "Wow, I felt that," like I did with your pages. "Wow, I understand from your perspective. I can see where you're coming from. I know that pain. I've seen that pain. I've been there in that pain." It's a beautiful thing. I commend you for like just having the courage to write this book. Like this right here is for those that haven't seen this book yet, you definitely got to check it out because it's got a lot of information in here that definitely is going to make you want to rethink things in life and maybe want to see outside of your box and look at life in a different perspective. When you can see life in someone else's eyes, someone else's words, someone else's emotions, It helps someone to definitely break free from those self-altering feelings that you tell yourself that you're not capable, it's not doable, it's not important enough, or no one's gonna hear me, no one's gonna understand and respect me. You gotta read this. You gotta read this because this right here, there's no way that you can say someone doesn't understand and relate. Someone understands and relates. Right here, right here. It's raw, it's real, it's authentic.
Thank you.
No problem. Can you share a moment when a reader told you your work changed their life or impacted their life in a dominant way?
Yes. I was at a poetry meeting. I do poetry meetups where like the authors just kind of do open mics. And I was doing an open mic there at I believe it was in Lincoln Park. It's in this like art studio that I go to like once a month. Um but I was there and I was reading a poem called Familiar. It's a poem describes an abusive relationship and having that moment when you finally walk away before things get worse,
Mm,
breaking your own generational trauma, which
right,
was like choosing, broken men that, that are just going to cause me misery, and me recognizing that this is not a healthy relationship and walking away before things got worse.
right.
It's probably one of my most popular poems, but after I had read it, someone went up to me and told me that they once lived in a haunted house too.
Mm,
And I gave her a hug, and she like cried, and I cried too, because it was like it
when
was just nice to be understood. Like she understood she read the book and she was like, I get it. I
mhm,
lived in a haunted house too, and I don't know why, but that statement really like stuck with me.
yeah,
And I mean, it was one of my best fan experiences because she really understood what the story meant, and I was glad to have reached her
yeah,
in such a way. Yeah.
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 I tell you, your words, they do hit different. You've heard people write poetry and it's a lot of, rhymey and rhythmy, but that's really all it is. It's different when you hear poetry and it's like it's raw, it's real, it's truth. There's pain in there. There's purpose in there. There's meaning behind the words. And for someone to kind of just like, I promise you, outside looking in, reading something that hits different does something different to the soul. It shakes you. It says, "Hey, wake up. Wake up." Because now is the time to make some kind of a change. Something's got to be different. And it's got to do right now. It's got to start with you.
Yes.
Your book is definitely an eye opener, an eye catcher. I can definitely say that. I have looked at it. I have, gone through your pages, and the only word I can say is it's raw. It's raw. It is raw. And that's what the world needs, raw truth.
Thank
Raw
you.
truth.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see here. As a mental health advocate, what messages do you most want people to take away from when it comes to your writing?
Be kind to your family and family members if you don't understand what they're going through. That's what I really want others to take away from this, is to have empathy and compassion for those suffering, even if they don't believe it themselves or truly understand it.
Yeah.
To truly love someone in their darkest times and when we can bring someone back to the light. I think that's what I wanted people to take away from this. It's that like even if you don't understand it yourself,
Right.
doesn't mean that you can't support and love somebody to their very bone.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I lived my whole life kind of dealing with a narcissist.
Hmm.
And this narcissist for majority of my life. Um from as long as I can remember, when you grow up with trauma and I grew up in addiction. I grew up with drugs and alcohol in my family. I grew up with violence and abuse in my family. Like there was a lot of stuff going on in my family at a young age that just mentally and emotionally had already destroyed me. Um,
Hmm.
but then to also live with someone who's a narcissist and doesn't like they don't really think before they say things. They kind of just say things, and then it emotionally tears you up. And then you grow up to not like yourself or see yourself in a positive light because someone's always said negative things to you. So now you believe that those things are real. So for a lot of my life, I was dealing with imposter syndrome. A lot of my life, I was dealing with like not really knowing myself or not really understanding who I was because of who I was around and how I was seeing life. Um, and then it just same thing, like you said earlier, like some one day just it kind of just clicked. And something in me said, enough is enough. Like
Yeah.
this has to end. It has to stop here because I couldn't keep going this way. And a 360 kind of happened. I walked away from everyone. I stepped away from family. I stepped away from friends. Left people and things behind. I changed the whole 360 and I took my kids away and I never looked back.
Hmm.
Generational curse had to break and it had
Yeah.
to start with me.
Yeah. I'm proud of you. I mean, right on, right on.
That's right. Girl power, it happens. It happens. And same thing with you. Like it just clicked. Something clicked in me and just said it was like now was the time. So
Hmm.
yeah, I could definitely relate with you. What role does spirituality and the supernatural play in your creative process?
Spirituality does play a big part, holds a big part of my writing journey. I'm an adjacent witch. So what that means is that I kind of take from different parts of like I don't want to say I'm brujeria completely because I'm not. So I take
Right.
a little bit of brujeria and I take a little bit of what is it? Modern witchcraft, and I kind of just do my own thing. So I'm a big believer in rituals and discipline, and incorporating spirituality and belief to the supernatural into my writing. The
Okay.
role it plays is to create energy, using that energy to be creative. I honor my ancestors every day by writing and empowering myself for those who didn't have the power over the voices before me or voice before me.
Right. Right.
So right before I write, I light a candle to all my ancestors. I thank them. I thank the spirits. I thank the space. I thank God for what He's given me, and then afterwards I write, and I write for them. I think about all the women that didn't get to have this opportunity that I do, to have all these rights and all this freedom, and I wanted to, and so I do that. I take advantage of that. I do that by using my voice. My
Right.
voice is a conduit for all the women before me that that were powerless.
Wow.
So I think of it that way.
Okay. So that means you have an altar also.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so do I. I can relate. Yet again, I can relate. I've done spirituality my entire life. 5 near-death experiences will definitely do that to you.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, it's funny because as we're speaking, you have an orb that just literally went right past you, in behind you. So ancestors will always show up. They always like
Yeah.
to let us know that they're there by little gestures. They knock things over. They turn things on. They
They
and
do.
they
Yeah.
they make itself obvious.
I always ask for their help all the time. I'm always just like, help me, and then like in return I always leave something behind for them, whether it's their favorite snack, their favorite drink, or a task for them, or even just something self-care related. It's
Right.
like I'll do something good that's good for myself and my soul, and like that's like the gift to them.
Yeah. Gotta cherish the ancestors on the other side. They're the best guides, especially when they come and they reveal things to us in our dreams to let us know what to do next, how to move forward.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes, I agree.
I love it. We so much alike. I love it.
Yeah, learning so much today.
If you could give advice to someone battling some form of trauma, depression right now, what would you tell them?
This is gonna sound completely like very straightforward and raw, but find something that gives you a will to live and pursue it relentlessly. There are a lot of things that could fill up your time, but nothing is as fulfilling as finding your own passion and what's going to keep you alive, because it's going to drive you to higher heights. It's going to change you spiritually. It's going to be your main reason for living. and living a happy and healthy and fulfilling life. I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
And that
Right.
goes for everybody. I think everybody has something that gives them that fire under their ass, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with your own form of like, I don't know, I feel like we all battle with depression somehow. Like,
Yeah.
how have you been able to transition out of that trauma, and that depression, get yourself out of that? How have you handled that?
Um well, I've been working on using, it's called DBT, it's dialectal cognitive therapy.
Okay.
And what that means is I've been trying to reword everything in my head. It's really hard, but it's like I have to filter my head
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
And I also have to like remain present at all times. I dissociate a lot. So I've
Right.
been working really hard on trying to be more present, even if, as painful as things may be, as stressful as things may be, I try really hard to be present because that's the only way that I can, you know, handle it.
Right.
Is if I'm there, it's just like, okay, I'm here, I'm feeling this feeling, but it's not going to take over today. No,
Right.
no, no, because the battle is not never over.
Right.
Um, I have to constantly I constantly battle depression all the time, but there's just something, I think it's the writing, which is something in me that just like says, nope, you got to get up today because you have things to do, you have people to see, you've got people to piss off, you've got people to impress, you've got places to go, you've got things to write.
Yeah, definitely. I say the best. So I work with people that deal with depression on a regular basis.
Hmm.
And for many of the people that don't know about me is, yes, I've had 5 near-death experiences in my life. My very first near-death experience was self-inflicted.
Hmm.
I was dealing with depression. I was very suicidal, and there was just a lot going on in me that I struggled so much to express. Because I always felt that every time I tried to express what I was feeling, I was silenced, and I wasn't allowed to talk about what I was experiencing, which made it even worse. So now I advocate and I do help those that are mentally kind of just challenging in those areas. I also deal with some form of dissociation as well. So tricks that I like to teach when it comes to these type of things that are, when you get up in the morning, the first thing you say to yourself is, "Thank you that I was even able to wake up today." Then I like to stare in the mirror and self validate myself. "Hi, I see you. I love you. You're accepted. You're respected. You're wanted. You're needed. You're loved. I see you. You're important." I self-reflect in the mirror on a regular basis because I see me. If no one else sees me, I see me. And then I like to create things like, I wear a lot of bracelets and people say, You're always wearing bracelets." Well, I do this for a reason because sometimes I get stuck in the past and I'm so in a rush to kind of rush to the future that I forget to live in the present.
Hmm.
And so I fidget with the things on my wrist. And when I fidget with them, it reminds me to kind of stay now.
Oh,
I'm here.
that's why I'm with my rings. I fidget with my ring. That's what I've been doing all day today, right during the interview. Is like I was just fidgeting with them, but I
And
fidget with them.
and it helps to keep you in the present, doesn't it?
It does, and I like sometimes I'll even go extra and touch the stone because I
Mhm.
have crystals on my ring on my fingers. So like I'll just touch it and be like a rose quartz. I'm like I'm healed.
Right.
Like even if it's in the
Right.
head, like I'm just like I'm touching this and it's healing me, and right now I'm feeling better.
Right, right. Because we gotta find something to kind of focus our mind on so
Yeah,
that we don't mentally and emotionally spaz out.
yeah,
We take ourselves in all kinds of other places and then we're worrying about things that are not even important to worry about, and we're thinking about things that are not happening yet or not, maybe not even happening at all, and we tend to overthink, and then we
y-
crowd our brains with things more than what we need to have in there at the moment. I say regularly, live in the present, live in the now. Only worry about what's happening right now and what you have control over right now. Everything else, It is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of just live with life right now. Live in the present. What's next for you? Any new projects, any new books, or performances we should know about looking forward?
Oh, yes. Right now I'm throwing a book launching party for my second edition for my haunted houses. I've decided to extend the book, so I've added more stories and art, and I gave it a whole new makeover. This is going to be November 1st on Dias Muertos at
Okay.
20, I have to look it up, 2134 West 18th Street. It's from 12 to 4:30. And I'm also currently working on a second book called Hungry Starving Fool, which comes out on Valentine's Day.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
this one's gonna be different. It's gonna be much more lighter. It's gonna be focused. It's definitely gonna be a heavy read still because it's me,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be more focused on healing.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay. A
and
new approach.
a new approach. Yep, healing and feminine experience. It's 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 about my struggle. It's about my struggles with my eating disorder,
Okay.
and it goes and I think and sorry. So it's about my struggling with my eating disorder and finding love, and that's the focus of the book is just finding love within yourself.
Self
Yeah.
care, self love.
Yeah.
So I definitely tell you, you should try some mirror work.
I'm going to. That actually sounds interesting. I was thinking about it. I'm like, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, just try some mirror work. What you do is, is on a regular basis, make it a habit. So make it a custom to like get up and self reflect in the mirror first. When you validate yourself in the mirror, it does something to the brain's chemicals. And for all those moments that the brain was told that it was invalid or what you were feeling is not real and true or that your feelings and emotions are not important, when you start to self validate in the mirror and you start to say, hey, I see you, hey, I love you, you're respected, you're accepted, you're loved, you're wanted, you're needed, you're important. Say all the things to yourself that you wish you would have heard. And then you say things to yourself that you want to hear on a regular basis because we struggle with wanting to hear outside. Outside doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Inside is what matters. How we feel about ourselves on the inside, that matters. How we feel about ourselves emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that matters. So self-reflecting helps in so many different ways. Um, Another thing that you can also do that kind of helps in that area is if you're, and I know I'm a type of person that does this. So if you're a person that kind of sometimes self attacks with words, like sometimes people say, well, I'm stupid, or I could have did that better, or I could have said that better, or I could have just, maybe did this, that, and the other in a different way. Stop doing those type of things. So replace words. Replace words, the negative words that you say with yourself. So you get some stickers or get post-its or whatever and put them on your mirror. On one side, you're gonna put down all the negative words you've ever heard or said to yourself. And then you're gonna replace those words with positive words that are more meaningful in your life on the opposite side. And then every day when you get up and self-reflect, you're gonna peel off one negative word and leave a positive word. And you're going to peel off another negative word and leave another positive word. And over time, you're going to start to teach your brain to stop saying those type of things to you or stop attacking yourself because we've already dealt enough with that in our lives.
Yes, yes,
But
I
then from
agree.
us, it's even worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. That actually like sounds like something I do. I've heard someone tell me, and that really kind of changed my way of talking to myself. Is there's somebody who told me that words are spells,
They are. They
and
are.
if you call yourself stupid or if you call yourself, like incapable, then you start to become that. So you got to
Right.
change that.
Right. That's right. And I love that you said that because that is very true. Words can be blessings or curses based on how you use them. So you never want to speak, and this is another little trick I give also. When there's things that you want to happen in life, and you're talking to another bruja, okay? So when there's things that you want to see change in life, you need to start saying things as if you already have it. if you've already received it and if it's already yours. So you're going to stop saying, oh, well, if I get what I got this, that, and the other, they're not if, there's no when, I already got it. I already have it.
I
It's already going
completely,
for me. I'm already there. I'm already doing it. I'm already, even if you don't, it don't matter. Because what happens is that you understand that everything is energy and flow. So when you speak that energy into the air, and then it goes out into the atmosphere, then it collects in the atmosphere. And then it starts to reimburse you by sending praises and benefits and perks and blessings in your direction. So you'll be wondering why you're getting blessed in all these different directions, and why we have earth angels, why we have people that come up and say, hey, you know, I was compelled, or something in me said that I had to come to you and I have to give you this, that, and the other. I got to help you because you affirmed it. You said what you wanted as if it was already yours. And then God, God, source, spirit, whoever came and provided to you what you needed. I'm an imperfect minister, so I don't Bible thump because I know a lot of contradictions. But what I can tell you is that I believe that there's a source, and the way I understand it is we are all energy, and we came from energy, and source is energy. It was a thought. It was a thought process. And the thought process decided that the thought process wanted to be an infinite amount of thought processes. And we all become creators. You're a creator. You wrote a book.
yeah,
I'm a creator. I write art. We are all creators. Our purpose is to create, and then to teach other people what their purpose is, to create. We are not supposed to work for the man. We are supposed to self create our businesses, self create our destinies and our futures, and and prosper in those ways, because we were all given gifts and abilities. But you have to affirm it, speak it into existence,
yes,
become the reality.
yes, I agree.
There's
Yeah,
so many things that we could talk about in the back way. So there's so many things that we could definitely talk about in the back way. But changing the way you talk, your tone, and reflecting it in the world, it'll come back 10 times fold in every blessing you could think of.
yeah, I totally agree. I think changing my language, changing my, becoming more empathetic to myself has really improved my life. And
Definitely.
also, just, I completely agree with manifestation. I manifested this book. I manifested most of my successes. Um, I got this job at this daycare that I've always wanted, because I would pass by it for years, and it looks so fancy because it looks like a castle. And I would tell my partner, like, I'm going to work there. And then sure enough, like 6 months later, I got the job.
Wow.
Yeah,
It was already yours.
it was already mine. Yeah.
When you start to have dreams, and I'm definitely going to, leave you with this also spare nugget. When you start to have visions, dreams, and the dreams are showing you things of the future that haven't happened yet, it's because source is showing you what is about to come. So source can always only talk to you when you're sleeping, because that's the only time you got quiet. So it shows you visions of your future to come, because it's already in your reality. You see it in a vision because it's already your manifested reality. It just needs to find you and catch the flow. So that's why we need to change the way we speak, change the way we see life and how we move. And sometimes, if you're compelled to move away from people, if you're compelled to isolate and kind of hermit mode for a while, that the hermit and the isolation is not meant to hurt you. It is meant to teach you that not everyone is able to come to you and come with you for your blessings. And sometimes you'll miss blessings when you keep the wrong environment and people around you.
That is true.
So keep loving on self. Keep affirming your reality, your future, your blessings. You speak as if you already have them. They're already yours. So before we completely jump off of here, we've already talked about your book. We already talked about your book events, and we already talked about what is next. So, what can we say about you, your future to come, and what do you see manifesting in your reality coming the future very soon?
I see myself getting on WGN TV. I don't know why, but I've been thinking about it a lot.
Okay,
Yeah. I hope to be that successful. I will be that successful at some point.
that's right. I can, I am, I will.
Yes.
I love it. So, that is all we have today. How can people find you so that I can reach out to you for your book or any future events you have coming soon?
I have a website um and I'm working on, and the best way to find me is on my Instagram. She's in La La Land, or my author account called KS George.
Okay. Is there any other details like email, anything like that?
Oh yes. The best way to email me is at k.sgeorge1103 at gmail.com.
Okay. Well, everyone that's watching or will be watching on the recap later, this is how you find this motivational and inspirational author and local celebrity here in the Chicagoland area. Well, that's all we have today. This has been an incredible conversation with Christiana George. Her words remind us that even in the deepest moments of pain, there is always the possibility of transformation and healing. Thank you, Christiana, for
Thank you.
sharing your story and passion with us all today.
Thank you.
And to my audience, thank you for tuning in and thank you for allowing me to speak and be your host for today. Go ahead, you wanted to say something.
Oh, bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you for watching. And until next time, hope to see you again.